Jerry Garrett along with Spencer Lowe back at the Baja 1000, and we're looking at Paul Simon coming in for a pit stop here. He's running third overall at this moment. A very good showing so far for the big Ford F-150. Paul pulls to a stop. The Rough Rider crew goes to work. 6 Rough Rider vehicles in this race, all identically painted. Paul right now is running first among all the Rough Rider vehicles. Doesn't seem to be any problems on the truck. Paul wants to talk to the crew member there for a minute, check, make sure that he's clear to go when they're done. Don't know what the discussion is about. Doesn't seem to be anything serious. No other work going on underneath the truck at this moment. Nobody has gone by on the road, so Paul still has his third place here. Looks like gas and go, no tires, nothing else. He's back underway. Get out of the way for that crewman. And Paul Simon back on the road, still third overall. Behind him, Larry Ragland moving up the leaderboard. He's first in the Class 8, the class for full-size pickups. And right behind him, here comes Scott McMillan. McMillan started in front of Larry Ragland. But Larry Ragland right now has the advantage on the track. Looks like he's had a flat tire out there because they're putting a new spare on the rack. But otherwise, it doesn't seem to be any problems right now for the Chevy. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Larry is the defending champion in this race. He has not run any of the other races down here in Mexico this year, so he's not in contention for the points championship. He has one thing in mind in this race, and that's to win it overall. So he's driving just as hard as he can to do that. Bob Gordon behind him pulls out, former winner of this race. Very busy pit here, a lot of vehicles. There goes Scott McMillan. They plan to pit over 80 vehicles in this area during this race. And now Larry Ragland back underway. You see that Scott McMillan got out in front of him, so he's got to go back now and pass Scott McMillan. More vehicles on the highway right now. Here is Frank Scoop Vessels bringing his Ford in. This has got the biggest engine of any vehicle in this race. It's like a 560 cubic inch V8, and it goes very, very fast, especially on these highway sections. Frank right now up in the top 10 overall. Now passed on the highway. Here comes, well, this looks to be Rob McCachran. Yes, Rob McCachran making his pit stop. He seems to be running fourth now in this full-size pickup race, fourth in his class. And you remember, he said that he needs to finish this race to beat Steve Kelly in the points. So far, we have not seen Steve Kelly come through here, so that's got to be good news for Rob McCachran. He waves to us. Yeah, he's having a good race so far. Looks like the truck is dried out from that little trip through the river bottom. Meanwhile, here comes Brian Stewart, the son of Ivan Stewart, and he goes past the pit and passes McCachran for a position in this race. That's crucial. These guys have been trading this position back and forth. You saw them earlier on the highway trading positions as they left Ensenada earlier today. Rob McCachran back out just a matter of a few seconds behind Brian Stewart. See, Jimmy Smith has joined Frank Vessels in the pits. The problem for Frank, let's see what's going on.
We lost the rear end seal.
Pump the brakes.
And the brakes.
Okay, they lost the rear end seal and the brakes, so it looks like Scoop Vessels is going to be in here for a while. Here's Chad Hall over here. Now that's Jim Baldwin. We saw him earlier. He's got a transmission problem, and he's losing some time in the pits. Down the hill out of one of the high mountain pass areas, here comes John Swift, the leader in the sport utility class there on the left. He's getting ready to pass one of the slower buggies. That looks to be Carlton Post, number 101, the first vehicle off the line, and he's lost a lot of positions. As we mentioned, he's kind of a dark horse in this race, and he's about to get put another position behind by John Swift. You see that big horsepower come into play in these factory-backed engines. Another one of the Ford Rough Rider vehicles. John Swift has a phenomenal record down here in Baja. Well, we're looking down there. There seems to be a problem for Scott Douglas. He's the leader in the points in the unlimited mini pickup class. The hood off, co-driver coming out. They seem to have a problem, and they're going to lose some time right here. I don't know, though, that it's crucial for Scott to finish because he's won the 3 previous score races this year and has a big advantage in the points. Farther back up the course now, this is Dan Smith, another one of those 6 Rough Rider vehicles that we talked about in this race. Dan is competing against Mike Leslie for the championship in the short wheelbase 4-wheel drive class. Dan Smith's teammate, David Ashley, is competing for the championship in the long wheelbase 4-wheel drive class. A lot of classes out here, sometimes difficult to keep them all sorted out. A few miles back up the course now. This is Mike Leslie. We saw him a little earlier. He's running just a little bit behind Dan Smith. I bet he's happy, though, to get out of that water that we saw him in earlier. Hope he's dried out. You can never be sure whether you're going to get through that water safely. A little bit of water under the hood there can shut the electrics off in the car in a hurry. Now here another look at Dan Smith passing a buggy a little farther on up the course here. He's still out in front of the class. Pretty good class battle going on right here. You can see he's having a little bit of difficulty, though, getting past this buggy. The buggy's got a little longer wheelbase. Even with all that horsepower in a short wheelbase vehicle like Dan Smith is in, he's got to respect the terrain, and it's very rough through here. He squeezes past, moves another position farther on up the leaderboard. Now here's a look at Jerry McDonald. We showed you him a little bit earlier. He's really tearing his way through this section. You saw from the in-car camera just how smooth it was inside for the drivers. Let's give you an idea now what it looks like underneath the car. This is the front wheel, the left front wheel on Jerry McDonald's Chevrolet. You can see the suspension has taken a heck of a pounding, but that pounding is not being transferred into the cab. Here's the rear suspension working. You can see it's very rough out here. We got a long way to go. More from the Baja 1000 after this.